John Hutchins.
Here.
John Betts. Here. Leslie Myers. David Reed.
Here.
Debbie Ross.
Yes, sir.
Phillips.
Here.
Jeff Lawrence.
Here.
Joe Woods.
Here.
George Larger. I'm here. Mike Ross.
Here.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is approve the minutes of May 22nd, 2024 special meeting. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections need to be made?
Two that I saw from the special meeting on the 27th, those minutes, and the conclusions of the findings of fact, section G, the third sentence, Mr. Reese, when it said now it's full needs two L's, and then on the findings of fact and conclusions of all recommendation, my name has an S on the end. In the recommendation.
Is that page 4?
It's not,
I don't think.
no, it's the second section. It's after page 7, it's the attachment.
Oh, so that's, is that in the medical cannabis findings?
No, it's in the minutes.
There you go.
Maybe?
In the recommendation, it's the first, whatever, the first,
Yeah, it's on the, in the marijuana thing. It's in the
yeah, on medical
recommend-
cannabis.
We'll get to that here in a second. There was no.
Okay, so this is the first one, just in the minutes, the other one's in the...
Yes.
Yeah. So do I have a motion?
Oh, gosh, there it is. Yeah. I'm sorry, John.
So do I have a motion to accept the May 22nd special meeting minutes with the noted change?
There was one other thing that was on the findings of fact on the cannabis, it's section 8.
Well, we're gonna get to that here. in a minute.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Yes, sir.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. John, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now,
Real quick, let's get your signature on the last page and I'll make the change tomorrow. Actually, I don't think I have a spot for the signature. Don't worry about it. These are good
In
for
section 8, should it have added, because it says administrative official George Larger and counsel for the commission, should that be Michael Carter?
Oh, so you think the name thing?
What's your name, not Michael Carter on the page?
I typed it, I'm okay with it being out.
Okay, all right. No problem.
All right, so remind me, what are the findings for, how do you want to amend the findings for medical cannabis?
John's name has an S on it in the recommendation.
At the beginning, listing the list of people who are present.
Okay, so that'd be page 1. Okay. Is that it?
There's it.
So page 1. All right.
No, there's on page 7.
So we got the one amendment?
Is that the only amendment? Do I have a motion to accept the matter of record, findings of fact, zone text amendment, medical cannabis business with the amended change?
I'll make
So
that.
moved.
Okay. Second? Yeah.
Second?
Yeah.
Curtis first.
No,
No,
John.
John.
John, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. New business, waiver request. Maysville, Mason County subdivision regulations, zoning 10, 151 West Maple Leaf Road.
Okay, since you all are actually, this is a little something different. I don't think the planning commission has looked at a plat or anything related to a plat probably in 6 or 7 years. But before we get started with this, why don't you all read Melanie's letter, which comprises her
It's the waiver request.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can go through the other stuff that's from the subdivision regulations if you, in a bit. If you all are done reading the actual waiver request.
There's 4 requests with it.
Yeah. So at this time, I invite the applicant to address the planning commission.
Thank you.
I swear.
Yeah. You might stand up. Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth? Please say I do.
I do. Sorry to be back again so soon, but this was kind of necessary. We talked at the meeting when I was here before about when you were giving me the property zoning change to TH1, and it was mentioned at that time that someone asked the question, would all of the duplexes fronting Maple Leaf have entrances, exits to Maple Leaf? And I said, no, of course not. So we had to go in, everything will go in and out from the current entrance to the property. As I stated in the letter, Travis McLone, the surveyor, has gone the extra mile and looked at different ways to lay the lots out so we could make that a city street where I'm requesting the waivers. There's no way to do it. He tried different ways, for which I had to pay for, and there was no way to do it. So that's why I'm requesting the waivers to do this. George was nice enough to give me the what's on bold in the letter. That's what is currently in the documents, and then the underlined part, what I am requesting is waivers for those 4 things. So we did try to make that a city street with no luck, so that's what I'm requesting. And the plat you have in front of you kind of lines out where I referred to it a couple times, so. Do you have any questions for me?
Do you all want to delay questions until we talk more about this?
Yeah.
So this is actually what I got from her engineer. This is technically the development plan.
Stop you for just a second. Why don't you give the commission a brief overview of the subdivision process and why they're the body looking at this particular request?
Okay. So we'll kind of talk about the training that you all had last month. So these are your guys' regulations. Anytime there's an amendment, you all vote to change it. You all are kind of the masters of this. Now, as you recall in the HB 55 training, this is more or less a checklist. You know, as long as somebody submits something like this, whether it's a minor subdivision, major subdivision, as long as it's just a checklist, city and county staff can take care of it. Well, in the case of variances or waivers, it's no longer a checklist. It's where discretion is. The city and county staff don't have the authority to issue variances or waivers, so that's why you all are involved in this. I've gone back through, I have planning commission meeting files going back to the 80s, and subdivisions were on just about every agenda, and we changed that. As a matter of fact, the state changed the law to where if it's a ministerial task, it needs to be a ministerial task where the public doesn't have a say. Well, this is discretionary, so you all have authority here to issue waivers, issue variances, and that's what she's requesting, which is a waiver. Do you all understand?
And where are we in the subdivision planning process?
This is actually technically the development plan. The plat would be sort of a stripped down version of this that doesn't have all of the utilities on it, but I didn't have the actual plat yet, which is why you all are looking at this. But this has all the details of the plat. This is the development plan that's submitted with the preliminary record plat. This is just formulation of the concept, and after this and the plat are approved, that's when development can start. And then development occurs, and eventually when development is finished, whether it's phased or it's the entire thing, then a final record plat is created. And when that is approved and signed and filed, that's when lots can be sold.
And just for everyone's clarification, typically what you all are dealing with is this set of rules right here, land use management ordinance. What we're dealing with tonight is the Maysville, Mason County subdivision regulations. And those are basically just the rules that you all have adopted or that your predecessors have adopted, regulating how people can subdivide land to make smaller portions so that they can be sold and developed. And that deals with conveying off 20 acres from a farm, selling to a neighboring property owner, all the way up to the development of major residential subdivisions, selling lots for individual homeowners. Okay, so that's what you all are dealing with tonight.
And there are two types of subdivisions. There's a minor and a major. A minor becomes a major when you're subdividing land into 5 or more lots, and or if public improvements are required when the subdivision is created. In this particular case, you're doing both. Otherwise, it's minor subdivisions are quick and easy, and they can be approved in a day. Do you have any questions at this point?
I do. What's the difference at the meeting, the training session we talked about? What was it? One of them stayed with the property owner, and one of them was just as this property owner at the present time. And I can't think of the word.
Well, I think that was the difference between variances and conditional use permits. They didn't really talk about waivers.
Okay.
Waivers aren't really something that's regulated or mentioned by the state. It's just something that, and we're going to talk about waivers here in a minute, something that you can put into your regulations to be exceptions that are really subject to a public hearing. They're just an exception to the checklist.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about subdivisions generally? All right, so we can talk about this development plan. Basically, what Ms. Henry is asking for, that you can see right here. You can see right here, this is West Maple Leaf Road. Here's the entrance into the subdivision, and immediately going in both directions, there's a private, the concept is a private road, and that will provide access to lots 2 through 9, I think she said.
Correct.
Yeah.
So how do you access lot 1?
Yeah, how is access from lot 1 and lot 10 achieved?
There won't be,
You're not having anything on there?
no.
Okay.
And I see like lot 1 kind of dives down over there.
Right.
Lot 10. I still think we should consider that, considering they're on here. I mean, lot 10 seems, I mean, I don't, I'm somewhat familiar with that, I run by it a lot. Just lot 10, I don't know if it's there preventing you from wanting to build there, but I almost think we should include that if it's.
That would be great.
Well, I don't think that has to necessarily, I mean, if she decides to build and develop those lots, it looks like the private road's sort of dead into them. I mean,
Right.
we don't have to determine which lots are accessed by it.
Okay, well, I just think, I just thought since the waiver spells out 2 through 9, yeah, I mean, it's up to the law. I
Yeah,
don't-
we can amend
I don't
that,
know.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I started to put 1 through 10 there, but then I thought, well, so, whatever you all think.
Doris, does the city have the final say on this?
No, you all do.
George, what's the stipulation on who long-term maintains that private road?
Well, what I can tell you is that if it's a private road, the city will not be maintained. That's all I can.
Presumably,
That will be addressed in my HOA, homeowners association.
so typically with a private road, the developer will put together some kind of master document that defines responsibilities, payment of dues or something like that, that provides for a group maintenance of a private road. So
The buyer has to sign off on that.
well, they buy the property subject to that agreement, which means that whoever buys that property going forward is subject to, it's no different than like a subdivision restriction.
Okay.
so, wouldn't that first bullet also include lot 17 and 20?
What's your question?
That first bullet talks about a private residential street cannot serve more than 4 lots. I'm showing Sunrise View Drive running north and south as
That'll be a public street.
okay, this is, okay.
So
this
only
private.
the one parallel and immediately adjacent to West Maple Leaf will be the private street.
Oh, sorry, okay. Okay, so Rainbow and Sunrise
Correct.
are city streets.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, we should probably talk a little bit about waivers and private streets and service roads. Just these are things that you all should know that are written in the subdivision regulations. So under administration, it says that as one of the planning commission's authority and responsibilities include the following. Number 8 is hear and take action on individual waiver requests other than dimensional variances to seek relief from a requirement in the regulations. Upon written request by the applicant, the planning commission shall review and take action on a waiver request as a result of an unusual or extreme circumstance while still meeting the intent of these regulations. Such circumstances may include a new construction technology, existing topography, or site conditions that have existed for some time and are not the result of actions of the applicant. A waiver request must clearly demonstrate a hardship placed on the applicant, so they're similar to variances. Let's see. And then, if you go to page 25, those are on pages 3 and 4. Page 25, section F, I highlighted for you. It does talk about marginal access streets such as frontage roads or service roads may be required by the planning commission for subdivisions fronting on arterial or collector roads due to high traffic volume. In general, access points shall be designed and reviewed based on intended uses, street classification, spacing of driveways, or curb cuts, corner clearance of driveways, or curb cuts, site distance, and roadway capacity. Yeah, so I mean, it does talk about you all requiring service roads, which originally when we were discussing this is what Lee Denham described it as. It doesn't It doesn't say necessarily if it has to be public, it could be private, maybe, it doesn't clearly say that. Now, let's talk about starting on page 28, going to page 29, let's talk about private residential streets. So it does say that private streets serving residential lots are only permitted in areas where an extension or construction of a public street is not practical due to the topography of the land or in the best public interest due to the length of the street to be publicly maintained for minimal public benefit and may be located in agricultural and residential zones or areas, and for such uses, private residential streets shall not be utilized as a means to avoid the cost of construction of a public street. So these 4 items for which Ms. Denham is seeking waivers are spelled out as requirements for private streets. And in asking for waivers, that's effectively what she's doing is asking you to waive those so that it can work here. Normally, private residential streets are required are mandated that they can only serve at most 4 lots, that they're at least 3 acres in area, they have a minimum of 100 feet of frontage on the private street, and they're required to have a 40-foot width right-of-way. So that's what she's explicitly asking for waivers for. Do you have any questions?
And this is these are KRS?
These are our
These are our
Subdivision regulations.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't get waivers for KRS.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a checklist, it's specifications, because
Yeah.
these are standards.
I think the point being that when you're talking about, to your comment about them being strict, I think that what you need to keep in mind is that this is the very beginning of this development, and people are going to be building their primary residences on these lots, and the county and the city have a vested interest in making sure that people are going to be able to access their principal asset.
Right.
And that there aren't issues about getting in and out, and that, one of the things I check for every time I do a title is road access. How are people going to get to and from this property? And so to say it's strict, it's probably for a reason.
Right.
So.
Just look at some of the dimensions and stuff.
Are you for private residential streets?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe because,
Well, I mean,
we have a lot of space here. And
Right.
I come from, I've been around in some of the places I've lived, you don't have a whole lot of space, like an island, so, I see things like these dimensions are quite large in my mind, but.
well, the way I interpret those dimensions is that, generally speaking, private streets would be, there are some private streets out in the county, usually for a handful of lots where a huge family farm has been subdivided out for members of the family to live, and they probably have large lots, and it's just not feasible for the fiscal court to maintain that public road because it's not used by the public, it's used by those property owners only.
Even Terre Haute, we have trouble driving side by side, we kind of weave in and out, let people pass and stuff, so that's why. Even that one, which I don't know when that was built with respect to our current regulations, but it's,
Right, and these would be, they'd be called private residential streets, but what they functionally are shared driveways for these.
for, I guess, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. My greatest concern about this is, and I've been to the fiscal court multiple times in the past year for a development out in the county, to where the fiscal court's arguing with the original owner of the farm that was subdivided, where they're bickering about whose responsibility is to maintain and finish paving the road. My concern is that in 5, 10, 20, 30 years, people living here are gonna complain to the city and say, we want you to take over this road, and the city's gonna say, no, it doesn't meet our standards.
Right.
The city will be under no obligation to make this a public road and put it in the public.
That's kind of where we go back to the HOA, and I guess if everybody gonna pay the same amount of HOA, where these guys that live in these properties up front, their HOA money, I don't know, it seems like everybody's gonna be paying for these roads up here, they're only gonna take the 9 people, but that's just.
And I consider that too, is, you know, the owner of Lot 5 is gonna be paying for the owner of Lot 9's portion of the private street that the Lot 5 owner doesn't use.
Well, let's be careful about making assumptions about how, if this is granted, that she's gonna structure any kind of agreement.
Right.
Sure, yeah, that's valid, yeah. Yeah, we just need to look at the regulations.
Yeah.
You all make a decision.
One thing I think that you all need to keep in mind is our regulations pretty clearly state that you all need to find, before you grant a waiver, that there's a hardship on the applicant. And so I think that if you do vote to grant these waivers, you need to be pretty specific about what that hardship is that she's facing, that the defendant's facing, asking for this waiver.
May I say something?
Please.
It was very important to me. I met with several city staff, and we talked about making that a city street, like the other two on there. And that's when I went back to the surveyor, Travis McGlone, and he laid out several different things, really, he did. And he said, Melanie, I don't see any way that's better than what we have, because it made less lots, it made the lots too big, like when I was here before, and you agreed to go with TH1 designation for this. So really, I'm at a point where there's no other way for us to go on this. So, but we really did, and Travis went the extra mile for me. And I tried to state that in the letter.
So I think really the crux of it is you all need to decide if that's a desire or if that's a hardship, whether she wants one or she needs one.
It's just a matter of lot density.
Do what?
Matter of
Lot
lot
density.
density.
How many she can get on that?
Basically, we just say, no to this road up here, then she's turning these two this way, or, you know, whatever, and she's just cutting back the amount of lots she can sell.
So is that a hardship or is it
So, well, it's a hurt, it's a, yeah, it's a hurt, it's like, sure,
My
as much money
question
as you bought.
is, George, like, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the area. I'm not really. I mean, I've driven by it many times, but I think I know where the area is, but I'm, trying to figure out, well, what could be the circumstances that these, are there any office sites that this thing will use? I guess that's just a lot of information for us to consider without talking or even seeing it.
Well, I will say that with this, Mary Domigan, the engineer, she submitted like a 50-page drainage report. So that'll be something the city, she's not seeking waivers to anything for that. So that has to meet certain standards, and that'll be something that the city staff will take a look at, mostly David Hort, making sure everything's fine with that.
David Hort and I had a conversation a little while ago because lots 2, 3, and 4, like on the left side of the entrance to the property, there's a chance that that private residential street will not be needed because we might be able to turn lots 2, 3, and 4 so they're accessible from Sunrise View Drive. The other side has to be that way. There's no other way about it. So there is a chance that won't have to be done. I wanted to state that, but we wanted it on there just in case, okay? So we're talking Evergreen Lane North, the lots to the left. The amount of money it's taking to do this project is unreal. I'm sure you can kind of see that. So it's going to be difficult to pull it off if I can't do close to this many lots. I've done my financials on 24 lots, so I knew that loses you for drainage and whatnot, but it's close.
I mean, you should almost push that road down the road. I think it's really steep out there, and Phil's gonna be expensive. We're trying to push that north, and we could turn those lots like you're doing to lots 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe. Therefore, you're losing line 10 and 1. I don't know. I guess that's not what we're here for, but yeah.
George, can you explain to me what 40-foot width right of way and where she's requesting 25-foot, what that pertains to?
Yeah, so on the roadway, there's usually the right-of-way, and then there's the pavement. So usually the pavement is somewhere between, for local streets, somewhere between like 20 and 28 width, but the right-of-way is 40 to 50 feet. So the right-of-way would also include curbs and gutters and sidewalks. This won't have any of that. So she's asking for the right-of-way for the street to be the same width as the pavement, so there's going to be nothing extra.
You know how when you're driving down the road, you sometimes see those concrete, like little mini obelisks on the side? Those are the highway right-of-ways. That's how far out they've
I understand
got.
that, yeah.
Usually right-of-ways also include like infrastructure too. That basically just gives whatever the city or the state access to all that land, so if anything needs to be done, they can do it. You know, for anybody who lives in a subdivision where there's the street, there's the grass in between the sidewalk and the street and the sidewalk, the right-of-way actually stops on the house side of the sidewalk. Oftentimes, the property owner is responsible for the sidewalk, but the sidewalk and that grassy part and the curbs and gutters are part of the street right-of-way. Your property line is typically right where the sidewalk starts. So it mandates that, I think it's a 40-foot width right-of-way and requesting a 25 width right-of-way. Now, it does say for private streets, that all private residential streets shall be centered in the right-of-way and have a minimum base of 4-inch pacted crushed dense graded aggregate and drainage features in accordance with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet specifications. So despite the decrease in right-of-way, they still need to have those drainage attributes.
And they haven't asked for a waiver on that at all?
No, and I don't think that, even if that was requested, I don't think you all should
I
grant
think
that.
that's appropriate.
Drainage is important. You don't want water just going.
Yep.
That's why I hired the engineer to do the plan. I wanted to know exactly that drainage. That's very important because we have several places in town that have drainage issues. I didn't want to deal with that, so I wanted that on the front end taken care of.
And that kind of goes back to my point of not knowing the area and just wondering, where's all this water gonna go?
She's got it all lined out on the plan. George could speak more to that than me.
Well, really, David Horde would be the expert there. He's going to be the one who approves all that stuff. Really, you all aren't, technically here, you aren't approving the plat and the development plan. You're just here to approve or deny these waivers to the plat, and then city staff will still work on the plat and the development plan on yours, Charles.
And then the only effect is that frontage road.
I just don't know this in Oliver. Is that the same minimum base of aggregate that would be required for the street to be accepted into the city or the county? Or is that a portion that's in the middle of a more place?
I see. David Ford would be the one to answer that. What I can tell you is that the city, the requirements that wouldn't be seen here is that the city would require curbs and gutters. So that's the main thing that this would be lacking. I think it's probably, I'm not as knowledgeable about this as David Ford is. It's probably more stringent if it's a public street, because these are just minimum requirements for a private street. I'm pretty sure that the public street requirements, because we want it to be built well. That would just be basically kind of like gravel.
And presumably, a public street is intended to handle the full load of the public, whereas a private street would just be for the benefit of a limited number of property owners.
It's also going to be the face of that development over time.
Yeah, it's the first thing that we see. Now, I will say, as I recall, this land is elevated above Westwood Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, significantly so.
West Maple.
It
Yes.
slopes up like this.
This is, to imagine this, I don't know which one it is, but there's a church right across the street.
Nazarene. It probably rises 4 foot above Maple or something like that.
So it will be the first thing, but I'm not sure if you'll actually be able to see the pavement when development is.
You see the frontage of the homes, you won't see the pavement.
Right.
John, to your question, if I'm reading this correctly, I think that the requirements for the development of a public street, does that say 6 inches or 8 inches of compacted dense graded aggregate base on page 26?
We don't have that.
No. That looks like 8 to me.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're definitely more strict. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, so I mean, like, minimum base of 4 inch, I mean, that's pretty much just gravel, and I'm not even sure it's mandated that it's paved if it's a private road. Because, I mean, from my experience in my past, when someone has something that long, it's usually gravel, it's usually not paved, because paving is expensive.
I missed that. This will be paved.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be, it's not going to be shocking.
Yeah, I think Lindsay had to leave. She said she had to travel out of town, but we still have a quorum.
Let the record reflect that Lindsay Phillips had to leave the meeting.
Or she might be using the restroom because she's... No, she said she had to leave at 6. I'm sorry, it's 6:09. Anyway, what do y'all think?
You all are required to make a decision within 60 days for submitting her request. George, did she submit this request on?
Monday. Which is
60 days.
June 3rd.
That's how long, that's the time frame within which this body is required to make a decision. They can make a decision tonight.
Let's hope so. I'm behind you. Whichever way it goes.
I was just offering that
Gotcha.
up since Kirby had said that this was a lot of information for him to digest this evening, and got the impression that maybe it was something that he wanted to marinate on for a bit.
Millie, is there a reason for the rush?
Yes, there's a reason for the rush. I'm running out of summer. It's going quickly. I was hoping with everything that had to be done to get started June 1st. So we're moving, and everybody's been saying we need housing. Here we are, but if it's 60 more days, let's just say, this project's dead until next year. I don't foresee that happening.
Here's a dumb question. Even though we're considering this front section here, the rest of that's been approved, all right? You can go ahead with the development of the rest of it, is that not correct?
No, we had nothing has been approved. This was submitted Monday along with the waiver request.
I thought she-
And also,
That was for the rezoning.
That was.
Oh, gotcha.
yeah.
It actually should have been submitted with, when I asked for rezoning, but I didn't know all of this. We talked about needing this, but there was no comments or letting me know that this was going to have to be done, so.
Well, but rezoning and development of residential property are different. Those are different steps in the process. So,
Also, I think too, that this will be done in phases, and I think the first phase will not involve anything other than these front lots, as I understand it.
That was, I'm sorry.
Oh,
That-
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, usually, in developments like this, they're done in phases. They're just a piece of the pie. Like here's phase 1. That might be lots 1 to 4. It might be lots 1 to 10. And then phase 2 might be lots 11 through 16. Phase 3 might be 17 through 22.
So you were saying the front lots would be the first lots done? Is that?
Well, probably. I don't know if that's been determined yet.
it's done that way a lot of times, but not necessarily all the time.
Not necessarily. Right.
It's kind of up to the developer.
It all depends on the bite that the developer wants to take out of the whole thing.
Last August, I spoke with quite a few city people about, everybody was in the room. George, David Horde, Water and Sewer, that was last August. And we talked about all of this, and I said, what can I do before I need to do the development plan and so on? And they said, you can go ahead and start building on it would be lots 5, 6, and through there. You can start that without doing anything else. But then I thought, no, that's not the way to go. I needed to go ahead and spend the money and get the drainage done, everything done. But, I'm running into all these hurdles, which that happens. But I could have had duplexes already built. There would have been the issue then coming back about the road. So I'm glad I waited.
Me personally, I don't particularly see a problem because it's dead ends on both ends. It's going to be private. It's not going to be throughway traffic. It's going to be going through there.
Yeah.
And
I don't see it being any narrower than my road to Terre Haute.
that's what I say. There's many narrow roads around, and those are the folks that's got to deal with it. The general public's not going to have to be going through there.
I guess by me being in the county and I've seen roads where people share it as far as maintaining it, and a lot of times it ends up in chaos.
That's not our concern.
No, it's
That's
not.
not our concern, and it won't be the
Yeah,
cities
no.
because they won't have to take it over.
Yeah, right.
But it will be something we'll have to
It
look
will be
at.
somebody's concern.
Concern, and we may have to be looking at it.
And it might become a political issue too, because that's my biggest concern is that we can write that it's not the city's problem, but if it's in city's limits,
It could
it might eventually become the city's problem, and the city's response will be, well, you can either dig it up and build it to, and of course, nobody's going to do that. And that's just my biggest concern.
I don't think that should be a big concern. It would be taken care of legally through the HOA. I don't see that.
And the buyer takes on that responsibility.
Exactly.
They acknowledge it, and if they're gonna buy on that frontage, they're buying into the design.
That's right. There are these options in the regulations. If the idea of a private road was a terrible idea in all situations, it wouldn't be an option. So it's up to this commission to determine if in this instance, whether a private road is appropriate under the situation as the applicant has put it to you. So.
Right, and I did want to address that, you know, the concept of this, as Denham has described in the past, is that these, she envisions these going to, I mean, you can't mandate this, but retirees who don't want a lot of yard to maintain, but these first 10 property owners are going to have to maintain this private road.
But that, again, that may be something that gets put on the entire subdivision, not just the first 10.
Well, as an HOA, it would.
Well, but it all depends upon, not necessarily. It all depends upon how she structures, the agreement.
Correct.
You know, she can structure the agreement to say Lot 10 only is responsible for it, or the owner of Lot 7 only is responsible for it. I don't know that that'd be a good idea, but that's kind of.
All the other regulations, the drainage, everything else, still would be required.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, this is just step one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, she's asking for it being able to, these private lots, this private residential street to service more than 4 lots, have a reduced right-of-way, reduced amount of frontage on the private street, and then have reduced minimum lot size. I mean, that's basically all she's asking for waiver. And that basically enables a private street to be built.
George, may I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Lot 5 and 6, that's lot 5. Lot 6, that's one duplex. Lot 5, the garage, the driveway from there, the way the plan is I'm planning to build, it doesn't even use this private road. It will use Sunrise View Drive. So that's even one less on that side. It's a side load garage, in other words.
Are you going to be doing the building, or is it going to be up to?
Beg your pardon?
Are you going to be doing the building, or is it going to be up to the individual property?
I'm doing the building. Thank you.
Are lots, what you're talking about, 5 and 6, is that a duplex as I see that, or is that 2 separate properties?
A
or what?
duplex.
Huh?
This is all duplexes.
So you're talking about turning 5 and 6?
Just 5. It's a side load garage. I don't have that with me.
Okay.
It's-
And
I
so
had
the
it-
6 will have a garage that comes off of the...
Correct.
Be like that.
The private street, yes.
Okay.
Each lot is one half of the duplex.
Correct.
And each duplex will have a garage,
Correct. 2-car garage.
so not parking on the street.
No parking on the street.
No, I don't think there's going to be room for it.
No, there won't be parking on the street. The
That's a
driveway.
restriction in my
With the garage and the driveway, you can get
I mean,
What was that?
four parties.
Michael was
A
trying.
2-car garage.
2-car garage, and with the driveway, it'll be able to handle 4 vehicles, 2 in the garage and 2 in the, providing they're not huge.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move that we accept the waiver as presented to us.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Wait, what's the hardship? I think you all need to determine what the hardship is to justify the granting of the waiver. I'm not telling you it's
Well, I
you're
understand, I'm
wrong.
just trying to have you verbalize it. Lack of space. Help me with the phase.
Cannot achieve property density that makes the project financially feasible without this coverage right. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Bill.
Topography unique to the lot.
What's that?
topography unique to the plat, lot, whatever you call this thing?
Is that acceptable, Michael?
I think topography is always a justification for these kinds of things.
Now, are you saying that the topography affects how many lots can be built?
I would think that if the development is for duplexes, it contemplates by the nature of the kind of properties that are going to be on there, a high density. And so, if you want to fit as many into a space as you can, the hardship, I think, to achieve appropriate density for the kind of development the applicant envisions, this access road is necessary.
Okay, I would move that we accept the waiver with the topography demands being the cause.
Okay.
Good?
Are you saying topography in terms of density? I don't understand what the topography.
To provide the appropriate density.
Yeah, just to provide the appropriate access to the plan.
On this topography.
Well, there's nothing about the topography that makes me think that this is necessary.
Well, because she can't move farther north because the hills, the topography of the land falls off to the point where it's, you can't fill all that in, so therefore she can't move back to allow for a wider road, she has to move forward. Is that right?
Well, I mean, she's just, topography, an argument for topography would be that there's a part that's completely unusable, and that's why the arrangement is this way. She's filling out the entire property.
Well, it's back half though, it's not usable. The north side is
East.
east.
Yeah. If you look at this, yeah, the arrow right here
Oh, there's the arrow.
is pointing north.
So are you
So-
saying
Oh,
that are
yes,
lots
sorry.
23
Yeah.
through 28 not being used?
And I'm talking about where the lines are, look like a pyramid. Back end of it.
Yeah, but those are still going to be developed. The topography is not preventing anything from happening.
Those are.
Those are all lots back there. Now some of those might not become lots, but that's not the reason why this road is being built.
Okay, so those are being lots.
Right, so what is the topography argument? I don't
You can kind of think of hardships for, no, she's.
Right, right.
She's got to bear the hardship. I mean, she needs to tell us. I don't think you really.
You want me to tell you what the hardship is?
Yeah, it is your responsibility to determine that, and that's your argument.
Delay your project and increase costs.
I said that. This is an unbelievably expensive project. I mean, just to put sewer on this project, on this, is $250,000. That's just to put sewer on it. So the more lots I lose, and like I said, there's 28 here, I only figured my financials on 24 because I knew I'd lose some for drainage and like number one, it's sort of over the hill. You know,
I know, but I don't think this planning commission, it's their responsibility to make sure that your balance sheet balances. I don't know that financial feasibility.
okay, but I stated in the letter, Travis, the surveyor, has gone over it and over it. It cost me a lot of extra money just to try to make it work with the city street there. It won't work. I mean, it was unreal. It was almost back to before it was TH1, you know, so it wouldn't work. Again, I went the extra mile to do that. I paid for it. This is it. If you don't want to do it, then we can call it a day.
I don't think it's a question of whether or not the commission wants to do it. I think it's a question of whether or not under our regulations they can justify the relief that you're seeking. They're different questions. The commission doesn't want to get into a situation in which they grant a waiver to you and the justification may not be legally sound, so that they're kind of stuck with that kind of reasoning going forward for future developers. I think the commission, the vibe I'm getting, the commission wants to grant you the relief you're requesting. We've got to make sure that the decision is legally sound under our regulations.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with whether or not they want your project to be approved.
I understand. But now, look at bullet point 4, which is in your regulations. Lots shall have a minimum of 3 acres of lot area. That really doesn't apply to much in the city, I don't think. That's more a county kind of thing, true or false?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically where you find private residential
Okay.
streets.
Okay. So some of this, to me, is more county related than city. I tried to do what you asked me and go along with the plan, but some of that, I think, it just doesn't apply to the city.
Well, typically, if there's a street in the city, it's a public street. I mean, that's why. I mean, typically, you don't find these in the city, you find them out in the county.
We could probably name some if we thought a little bit.
In recent development?
I didn't do my research on that because I didn't know I would need to, but possibly.
I mean, you guys can approve this with a hardship, we just need a legally sound hardship.
I think if you all want to find a hardship in the kind of density that a townhome duplex development that's appropriate for a duplex development, the hardship is that to fit it into this space, she can't do it without this road. Is that 100% legally sound? I don't know, but I think that if you all want to use that as the hardship, you can.
And not being a lawyer, I would agree with what Michael said.
So if it's deemed in 10 years not to be sound, what are the ramifications? The city might decide.
The city is under no obligation to not.
No matter what.
No matter what, because it does not meet city standards.
Or a city road.
Right.
So,
Public road.
which is interesting in the ditch.
What?
And what I would want to say,
Yeah.
I think what the road Michael was going down gives this body the ability to approve that hardship specific to the parcel's individual shape. And then in the future, this body, could always find that true or false going forward, dependent on or not parcel, I guess you'd say, the development.
But every development would be unique itself.
Every development is going to be unique. It's just generally speaking, every development needs to follow, this. And there are situations where you can ask for waivers and get waivers.
So we just basically, we're setting a precedence here, is the concern.
Well, every decision that you all make is setting a precedent in some way.
Right.
It's an unusual request.
Yeah.
I've been representing the commission since the beginning of 2017, and this is the first time one of these has come before the commission since I've been representing it. This isn't something you all deal with all the time. And, anytime you have to make a decision in an unusual situation, it's going to be you don't have a whole lot of experience to rely upon in making that decision.
It's hard to set a precedent when every situation is going to be different.
They're unique.
Mm-hmm.
The waiver request is unique.
So I'm just, I guess, kind of going back to the hardship and giving us giving us our being able to communicate or to put into the words the hardship for this. I know it's very important, but I don't understand the ramifications by just, saying some of the, putting some of the words together that we had. I'm not saying to just willy-nilly pass whatever, and I understand we have to have justification for it, but if the justification is not sound 10 years from now,
Doesn't
how does
matter
that
if it's
adversely
sound
affect
10
our
years from
community?
now, it matters if it's sound today.
And how does that, if it's not considered sound today, how does that affect our community?
Somebody's gonna eventually pay for it. I've seen it. And I'm sure the judges had with the, you got 2 or 3 landowners, why they want the county to. And you say no.
Because it's usually at the end, it's oftentimes, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a contingent of what is a public road. And then that public road stops here, and then 2 or 3 people want to continue it and use it. But there's,
And then they say, well, the county should take it over, because they're tired of graveling it, they're tired of this and that. Would it be appropriate to hear from the city on this? Well, they're the ones that eventually gonna come, they're eventually.
I mean,
They're coming their round.
I thought he said it wouldn't.
no, because the city is just not going to, if it's a private road, it's going to remain a private road. And the city's not going to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to gain by hearing from the city. That's just,
Any decision is unique to this development.
Yeah. The city is just going to say, well, but because you guys approved this, it becomes a private road. It's not our road.
I apologize that this has become such an issue. I didn't think it was going to be such an issue.
This is what we're here for.
I don't think you need to apologize. This is, like I said, this isn't something that the commission deals with all the time, and they gotta work their way through the question. They gotta work their way through the question.
Right, and the board of adjustment deal with variances, and it's usually one property owner who wants to be a little bit closer to the property line than they're allowed to. This is a development that is going to have potentially 20 to 30 families. This is going to serve, these front 8 to 10, dwellings. This is a little bit more involved, and variances deal with just dimensional requirements, usually just one. This is a waiver from an entire checklist. 4 things in the checklist, but still.
When was the last time that was updated?
We updated it a few years ago to explicitly talk about variances. Roads don't really change though. They're built pretty much the same way as they were some decades ago. Is there something in there you think needs to be updated?
But, we're talking 4 pieces of property here, more than likely. That's no other way to get to them. So, I don't think it's going to create a traffic problem. It's going to be built to specs.
I know, it's just, and it explicitly states in there, they need to come up with a good hardship, because just like with variance, you're not supposed to get it because you want to, you get it because you absolutely need it.
There's no other way to access those. That's the hardship. There's no other way. Like I said, we have ad nauseum gone over this and over this. There's no other way. That's the hardship. Judge, you have a comment? I can understand if it was, the road that's going to be the city road eventually. I understand that, but 4.
So what do y'all think?
I think without without the road, there's no access to those 10 lots. Other than putting access, which is not feasible to make it. So the hardship, in my opinion, is she's gonna lose the ability to put 10 residential areas into play.
Which you might as well say kills the project.
Kills the project.
It does.
Kills the
There's
project.
no other way around it.
I mean, I understand that, but when we talk about variances, you know, oftentimes applicants for the variances say, well, it would just be too expensive to not have the variance. You know, people like David Pike say, well, money is not a good justification for that. It just isn't. I mean, these are waivers and not variances. I don't know if that should still apply. And, you know, I think everybody wants this to go forward. It's just, there needs to be good justification for this. That's all I'm saying. Now, I do have, what Michael said, density sought in the confines of the property. Are you all satisfied?
Yes. I am.
So who made that motion originally?
Rick. And I incorporate that into my motion. That'd be permissible, Chairman? Okay.
That'd be to the individual property? Or
Well,
parcel?
confines within, let's say within the development.
The nature of the development and the desired density require the access road, require this road
It requires,
to achieve.
yeah, it requires the waivers for the private road to be developed.
Yep. So moved.
I'll get that off the record. I'm not gonna try to do it. All right, so why don't we just go ahead and second?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Voice vote?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a voice vote. So a yay would be to concur with the motion to approve the waivers for the justification listed. John Hutchins.
A reluctant yes.
John Bess.
Yes.
Kirby Rosser.
Yeah.
Okay. Lindsay's not here. Rick Lawrence.
Yes.
Gerald Woods.
Reluctant.
All right, so the motion carries. The waivers are approved.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, comprehensive plan update.
I don't really have any significant updates for you all. We have a steering committee meeting on Tuesday. As I understand it, I think that all of the reports for the subcommittee meetings were submitted. I think the last one was submitted this morning to Allison. So all the subcommittees had their 2 meetings. I'm actually really excited about what my subcommittee came up with, Parks and Rec. But otherwise, aside from the meeting and discussing those on Tuesday, it's all good.
Okay. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you.